Here we go. Where are we at? We're at part 2, open close. So, some quick overview questions to remind you. Now, how many questions are there? There are 8 questions. How many texts do we need to read? We need to read one long text. How many options can we choose from? You don't have any options. Okay, the options are in your head here. Okay, how many marks? 8 marks in total for this part 2, 1 mark for every correct answer. This is an example, okay? So please write in capital letters, pencil, okay? So as you can see, I work as a motorbike stunt rider. So we're going to look at it in more detail now, but you need to write in a word in every single gap. 1 word, please. Okay, so moving on. 8 questions, 1 mark for every correct answer. Okay, so now you have already learned a lot of strategies. At this stage, we're going to recycle most of the strategies you already know. Now, the important thing about this part, sorry, is that the most common types of words used in this task are auxiliary verbs like have, do, be, prepositions in, on, with, relative pronouns that, who, which, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so this in itself is a very important thing to remember because automatically, if you know this, you don't have to think about other possibilities because you know these are the most common types of words used in the part 2 of the reading and use of English. So, what strategy are you going to apply here? So, first time reading, you're going to read it twice, but you're going to read it the first time. The first time you see, you're going to read it. Okay, you're going to read through the text once, the first time, and fill in the gaps as you go with the first word that comes to your mind naturally. Let me go back and show you what I mean. So you're going to start and you're going to read it. Okay, the Le Mans racetrack in France was, I first saw. If you know that, write it in. But do not stop and think here. No, I want you to naturally, one time, read through it. If you know it, great. Write it in. If you don't, nothing more than 2 seconds and continue. Okay, I'd never seen anyone riding a motorbike using just the back wheel before I was impressed. I went there. So if you know it, write it in. If not, you continue. First time, I want you to try to answer the gaps naturally as possible. Great. So now you're going to read it again because obviously, possibly, I mean, there will be some gaps that you didn't write anything in. So now you can go back to the gaps that aren't answered and try to understand what the word could be by applying the same strategies we learned in part 1. What do I mean? Okay, you look at what the word before and after, and you try to understand what is it that you need. Do you need an auxiliary verb? Do you need a preposition? Do you need a relative pronoun? That is how you would approach this specific task. Okay, so now there's nothing more for you to learn here apart from focusing on what is before and after the gap. Remembering, this is very important, that the most common type of words used are auxiliary verbs, prepositions, and relative pronouns. Okay, and read it once quickly. Try to understand, not understand, try to fill in the gaps you can naturally fill in. Okay, and once you're done, you go back and you apply the strategy by looking before and after the gapped text. That is the best you can do here because this type of task, you either know it or you don't. That's it. The best you can do is apply the strategy by trying to understand what is before and after the gap. there's nothing more than that. There's nothing more that can help you really here. Okay, so we're going to move on to part 3. I'll see you there.